Got the best coaches in the game. We really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block, helmets, casket, is got. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision, we got too many. Get your tech. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, recruit. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just drop. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, yeah. Do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted to come around.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We are back Friday. What's up, Razzle? How are you, bud?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm up, man. It is beer 30 somewhere. It's a Friday. It's time to rock and roll. We got viewers piling in. We're gonna go game by game. I'll tell you what, for the early adopters here, the early viewers. First of all, I'm gonna free pimp one of my favorite beers here on Friday. But I'm going to have Razzle talk about the challenge that he's undertaking. We're going to show, and if you see in the screen share, actually, you see that his win, the sucker was starting to sweat this thing Wednesday during the show, ran off to play softball and banked $1,500 or whatever along the way. Then we'll go into the games. We're going to turbo through those games today, though, so you're going to want to get probably pen and paper out there if you want to take some notes. We're going to take questions along the way, and then if we're lucky, for you early adopters that are in here right now, you guys get the heads up. We are going to maybe do a little domination station setup before we put a bow on this week and put some helmets on some leaderboards, man. So I'm going to dive into my beer first. I'm not a big shill for a lot of sites and stuff like that, but this Isla Morada Florida Keys beer is unbelievable. It's a coconut hibiscus key lime ale, and it is just like my jam. So I'm going to crack that thing and pour it while Razzle talks about the challenge, maybe how it's going, a little update on what he's trying to do, and then we'll go game by game and get you guys rolling. Happy Friday.
Yeah. The challenge, what I decided to do was take a contest on DK at 150 max it, main stacking one single team in the entire 150 run. I didn't do it yesterday just because of the way that the slates are split apart, so it didn't really make sense to do it. Contest didn't really make sense to do it in. There needs to be some solid value return to make going all in like that worth it. And to be honest, to start out, the first 2 days or 3 days of it, I think I cashed one lineup out of what turns into 300 or 450 lineups. It's what happens when you put it all on one team. I think the fourth day I might have cashed 30 out of the 150. So far I've been taking it in the rear, but that was to be expected. Most nights I'm just going to struggle, especially when a team that I'm so high on, scores 2 runs. Or I even think Texas was shut out one night. I went with them.
Yeah, they were. They were. It sucks.
That happens, but. I'm doing it to try to see if we can absolutely dominate the top 10 or top 20 in a contest when that one team goes off. Obviously, you need it to happen on a night where that team was clearly the number one stack. Because the other day I did have Atlanta when they scored 7 or something, and it still was nowhere near enough because we had a bunch of teams score 7, 8, and 9. And when that happens, I'm in trouble.
I'm trying to get the damn head on this beer to calm down. This is like some thick shit. Oh, these pretzels are making me thirsty. My goodness. Yeah, it's a Blues thing. Tattoo picked up on it. It's a Blues, big game for the Blues. We're going to go out after the show. We're going to go catch that game somewhere. So, but how did you come together with the lineup that you had here, the winner that we're showing on screen here real quick. Did you do anything strategic there, or was it just something that came together out of a batch?
I mean, it would have came from a batch. I have to bring that lineup up. But I mean, that's just out of my runs from the DS, all the different setups that I do. And I generally, when I get a chance to, I run each team individually as their own stack, put my entire CSV together, and then upload it after I randomize it. I mean, that lineup, looking at it, pretty straightforward, aside from the one-off Kyle Stowers double dong game. The Dodger stack, pretty popular overall. I mean, Kike Hernandez was 30%. Muncy and his struggles was even 27% owned in that contest.
Wow.
And it was two chalky pitchers, Chris Sale and Michael King, who combined for 131% ownership in that contest.
Sometimes it works out that way, you know.
Chalky, and then I got Leo Rivas was a core play for me on that slate at 7%, put up 17 in that lineup in a mini stack with Cal Raleigh, and the Stowers at 3% going for 40 DK.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Definitely pays off.
Well, cool. Let's dive into the games, guys. If you guys want questions answered, I'm going to try and get to them as soon as I see them today. Pay more attention to the comment section because I've got a little pre-show routine with how we're going to scroll through these lineups and whatnot. So whoever the guys that are in here, shout yourselves out, say hi, man. I mean, I want to know who's in here. I see Chuck's in here and I see Tattoo Freaks in here, but I don't know who the rest of you are. So let's stand up and be recognized. Yeah. There is your starting lineups page. And it looks like Kansas City and Baltimore leads us off. I'm not going to say a hell of a lot other than I'm going to throw this to Razzle because we got a lot of games to get through here in the next, 15 minutes or so. So take it away, son. Royals, Orioles, go.
I mean, this game, definitely some offense, at least I would expect. I don't really have any interest in either pitcher at this point. Ballpark that I definitely like taking left-handed bats in. I mean, Baltimore's offense has let us down over and over again. But Baltimore is going to make tier 3 for my stacking, and I'm actually leaving Kansas City out of my full stack just because they're missing Salvador Perez. I don't really like the full lineup for stacking. They will be obviously a mini stack because Witt can go off. Michael Garcia is stealing a ton of bases right now. So, there's a couple bats with Kansas City I like to have, but I'm just not willing to full stack them. Baltimore with their struggles, I actually almost don't want to even mini stack them. Kind of be like a full stack or fade. Just hoping that offense just wakes up and they explode at some point because they should, based on the talent that they do have. If I had to pick a favorite bat, it'd be Ryan O'Hearn or Cedric Mullins for Baltimore. Kansas City's just too obvious with Bobby Witt.
Yeah, stolen base potential too. I love them stolen base guys. They add that floor. So he's a 5-tool Jose Ramirez type that just really scores a ton of points night in and night out. Let's see. Harlock really quickly asked to go through the leverage stacks tab, what that's telling us. I'll give you a quick overview here really, really fast, and Razzle chime in if you see something that I'm leaving out. But this is actually a very, very important tool for DFS Army. That's the reason I would pause the game-by-game stuff here. You're really looking at a variety of columns. So let me share that tab. And one thing it's default sorted by here is by leverage rank, and that's just kind of telling you if that stack goes off, how well it should perform for you. Kind of a combination of ownership and rank and usage and all this kind of stuff. But the bottom line to that page, I mean, you might not want to use San Francisco tonight. You might not want to use, sometimes you'll find Detroit or the Chicago White Sox up here at the top. That doesn't mean they're the best stack. That's not what DFS Army is recommending. They're just saying, should they explode, they're going to provide a ton of leverage on the slate. We, as DFS players, have to be a little bit more discretionary in maybe what we're letting the tab tell us and what we're going to go with and what we're not. I like to use a lot of the ownership tabs, so it's fully sortable by columns, and I can pull the chalk to the top, see what stacks most people are on. Maybe that's the result of a pitcher somewhere. Maybe that's a result of, something else, Coors Field, if you will, and I can kind of fade or go overweight, underweight some of these things. And then it gives me a good idea of how cheap that salary is at the average projected points up and down the 1 through 9 batting spots of that lineup. And that's what the total ownership is most of those all added up. You're going to notice smaller numbers on bigger slates, larger numbers on smaller slates, et cetera, et cetera. Point per dollar, all this stuff, these columns should be fairly self-explanatory in terms of a lot of them are similar in the DS and the research station and, et cetera, et cetera. You can sort by about whatever you want, look at some basic hitter, pitcher type stats, but the leverage rank's what you're really after. And you're going to want to largely not stay away from these teams at the bottom, but if you are using these higher owned or lower leverage teams at the bottom, and you can see some of them don't even have any ownership tonight, they're just not going to generate a lot of leverage either. So you want to use these guys kind of in conjunction with each other, put together kind of an A plus B type game plan, where if I'm using somebody who's maybe a little bit chalkier or a little bit higher owned, then I can get off of them in at least one other stack. And I might pull that from one of these leverage slots. Like I'm all over a super chalky, Houston team on a different slate or whatever. And then I see up here that at a little bit lower team ownership, Chicago Cubs or somebody is kind of, or the Seattle Mariners are kind of mixing in there, generating a lot of leverage. I might use them as my main stack and then use the chalky team as my small stack, or go vice versa, whatever. It's a pretty holistic view of the slate and who should be, if they go off, who should be providing the leverage. So I hope that helps a little bit. Do you have anything to add to that, Razzle?
Not really. Like using it for today, for example, the total ownership column, like the highest owned total ownership at 66%, it just means that like we really shouldn't be worrying about ownership on this particular slate at all.
Absolutely.
But also you have to realize that that's all 9 batters in the lineup are adding up to that number. So you can look at these numbers, but then go over to the DS and you can trim down your Kansas City chalk exposure and go with one of the lower owned guys in that 9-man lineup. And he just drastically changes it. Now that could drop it, somewhere into the 30% range. So that's one thing. I honestly don't use the leverage stack tool all that much. I look for it in spots where it's telling me that there's a chalkier team that's not chalky enough. I think that's, for me, is where it's beneficial, because then I want to make sure I get heavier on them at that spot. Because I don't look at the point per dollar at all. I might look at the average points projected number column. I think that one probably stands out the most. Because on this slate, the Chicago Cubs have the highest average points projected for DraftKings, but yet their total ownership is only at 33%. It's somewhat in the middle-ish. So that just tells me, and just by my thinking, that would create some leverage, and you look over, they're the number 2
right
leverage team. So that makes sense. So I kind of look at those more than overall numbers on this page, but I don't look at it every single day, unfortunately. I'm old. I've been doing this a long time. I've kind of stuck to my same process that I've had for multiple years. And that started before we built this tool.
I will use it, like I said, mostly for ownership, team ownership, and things like that. I'm not looking at a lot of those other stats. I can get those in other places. It's a great question, Harlock. I'm glad you asked it. I think a lot of people will benefit from hearing that slight explanation. So really appreciate it. Don asked if you're thinking Dodgers, Blue Jays for large fields. And my answer to that question, I'll let Razzle dive deeper into that. But my answer to Don would be, any combination is probably going to work, because as we just pointed out on that leverage page, the ownership, because it's such a large slate, is not super high across the slate. So you really don't need to fear any chalk tonight, because it's such a big slate. Razzle, do you largely agree, or do you have a little different twist on that one?
No, I generally agree. I'm not a huge fan of Toronto getting so much ownership, because they've been an offense that just has not done it as a whole all that much. So I actually moved them into even a tier 3, but I don't mind it just because, like, if you're using Toronto as a mini, like, there's a couple combinations that make sense. The problem is those two teams together, if you're on DraftKings, like, you have to decide between Freddie Freeman and Vlad Guerrero, where Vlad is, like, the best bat on Toronto, but it hurts a lot to leave Freddie Freeman out of a Dodgers 5-man stack.
Yeah.
So you have to make that decision, and that can be the frustrating one, because you're going to get those nights then where you're going to choose wrong, and the other one, because of the upside those two have, like, you could be looking at a double dong night that you don't have them in that build.
It's funny you say that. I just released a YouTube short today that was part 4 from the MLB stacking. If you guys are into YouTube shorts, I would appreciate feedback. I'm trying to get some quick tips, actionable MLB tips out. This week we focused on stacking 101, and the 4th tip of the week was essentially don't be afraid. Razzle said you don't want to miss that double dong upside with like a Freddie Freeman in a Dodger stack. But you also, one way to get unique in tournaments, in large field tournaments, especially on larger slates, is to maybe forego that one-off stud like your Shohei or your Freeman or your Vlad or whatever, and then build that stack around those other players with your full 4 or your full 5. And then, like if you're doing a Toronto 5-man stack, then bring in a Freeman as kind of like a one-off or as part of the 2-man stack and hope to catch it that way. Because anybody doing Toronto stacks, if they're on all 5 bats for Toronto, a lot of them are going to have Vlad in there. So you're taking a guess, you're taking a gamble that he might not factor in tonight, which is, pretty low likelihood that if they explode that he's not a part of it. But you're taking that gamble for some Millie Maker, large field GPP lottery ticket type of contest where you're trying to actually kind of pick those bats in the stack that make the right combination of that stack high enough up the leaderboards to win you the money. And sometimes if Ohtani or somebody goes double dong or Freeman goes double dong somewhere else, and then the rest of the lineup didn't do much, that stud that can break the slate on his own comes in conjunction with that full 5-man Toronto stack. And if you hit on both of them together, you've missed the chalkiest part of a Toronto stack in fading Guerrero, and you've picked up somebody who did damage elsewhere in Freeman or something like that. It can work. It is a very high risk play, and it is something that you really don't need to use in small fields, certainly not any kind of a cash game scenario or anything like a multiplier or anything like that. You're using it strictly for those lotto ticket GPPs. I didn't want to step on your toes, Razzle, but I thought that worked out really, really well with the shorts that we've been putting out lately. So I wanted to kind of get both out there. Take it away. If you've got more left with the Toronto-Cleveland game, fine. If not, we can go up to Tampa, Yankees, and then start scrolling back down from there.
I'm considering using Bassett. I don't think he's in my pool. Has thrown the ball really, really well, especially at home. Kind of surprising. Come back down to earth the last couple, so I don't mind using Bassett when pitching at home, but Cleveland's not a huge K team. So because of that, like, I'm just not interested in Cleveland bats all that much. You can always play Ramirez, you can always play Kwan because they just hit. Toronto, I wish they weren't against a lefty, to be honest. Toronto's been one of those teams for years where they can be loaded with right-handed bats, but they just tend to have right-handed bats that aren't the best against left-handed pitching. With that said, like, Springer makes sense, Miles Straw makes sense as a dart throw, and then Ernie Clement is a guy that performs decently against left-handed pitching that I think would make an interesting, like if you're looking to, as the question had, if you wanted a chalky Dodgers main stack, if you wanted a 2-man Miles Straw and Ernie Clement, they're hitting back-to-back in the bottom half of the lineup, that would be a way to get a little different with your Dodgers stack. But I don't know. Toronto is in my main stack group, but I don't love it because they just haven't shown to go off as a full team yet.
Right, absolutely. But if they score 10, those bats are going to be up there in the leaderboards. So,
right.
How about Tampa and New York Yankees? I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that you're not going to use Aaron Judge as your Dong call today.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not allowed to do that. I actually haven't even made a dong call yet today.
Oh, we'll have breaking news on this slate when you get to it then.
Yeah, I'm not really sure where I'm going to go. But that's because my core batters are kind of shocking for this slate. But I mean, Judge, obviously, like just ridiculous. What he got? Multiple hits in 6 out of the last 8 games. Legitimately is the best hitter in baseball. He's not. I mean, Otane's most exciting player. Aaron Judge literally is actually the best hitter in baseball. So I mean, Yankee stacks are just always going to contain Judge. You want to be different. I guess you can fade Judge in them. That's just, to me, feels very suicidal.
Yeah, that's not the one. I mean, yeah, that might have been tip 4 in that short today, but this isn't the offense I'd be doing that with.
Yeah. Like I normally like Ryan Pepiot, but home run to fly balls, like he's giving up home runs. 8 of them in the last 5 starts. This just doesn't feel like a spot for him to be successful in Yankee Stadium. I will be using Max Fried. I saw Chuck put it in the comments. Left-handed pitching against Tampa Bay is a real thing right now. Mm-hmm. Max Fried shut them down already. Didn't really rack up strikeouts. So I do expect him to strike out a few more batters in this particular spot. His K-prop sitting at 5.5, or was earlier today. It was basically a pick 'em at that 5.5 number. So I do expect an increase in Ks. He might give up a few more hits, but that's all right. Just really has to avoid Yandy Diaz. Chandler Simpson's speed, probably not going to play much because Fried has what is considered the best pickoff move in baseball as a left-handed pitcher. So like that just limits like a guy like Chandler Simpson's upside. So yeah, it's definitely the Yankees side. I wish DraftKings wouldn't have gotten rid of Ben Rice's first base catcher eligibility. Like he legitimately came up as a catcher, so he's one that could have that. So you have to decide between he and Goldschmidt. Rice more power upside. Goldschmidt swinging the bat really well. It just happens to mostly be singles. Yorvit Vivas is going to pop in optimizers because he was called up. He's cheap, replacing Jazz, former Dodgers prospect who had some upside to him. But I mean, really, you're just going to stack the main guys in this Yankees lineup. Grisham's been hot and leading off. Makes a ton of sense. And then I think Bellinger might be starting to heat up a little bit too.
Okay. Where's the next one? Minnesota, Boston. Are you going back to Duran? Is Devers finally getting hot? I mean, are we even worried about this game on such a huge slate?
I mean, I'm using Joe Ryan because Boston still strikes out a lot. Mm-hmm. But he's in a volatile spot, and that's worrisome. Joe Ryan in his career has given up more power to right-handed bats, so I like Bregman the most on this Boston squad.
I like
Trevor
Bregman's
Story's
wife.
I don't remember what she looks like.
I'll have to post a picture someday. I'll put it in the MLB room or something, man. She's a smoke show. Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Trevor Story's been a little cold, but it could be a spot for him to wake up. Rafaela, a right-handed bat. Speed with some power is intriguing, but I mean, Duran's just been rolling. Devers makes sense. I assume they're without, Christian Campbell's out again, so that allows you to go with Bregman at second and Devers at third. You don't really have to make a decision there. I'll be stacking both sides of this game, but I will be playing Joe Ryan. Don't really like the Twins as, one-offs other than, like, Ty Francis is swinging it really well. Surprisingly well. He's got double-digit DK points in 5 out of the last 6 games. So, but I think my favorite Twins bat might be Trevor Larnach from a power standpoint. Even though I wish he went the other way a bit more, being in Boston. The monster, I think if he went the other way, he'd probably have a ton of upside in the spot. But his power is what intrigues me. Bayo hasn't really struck anybody out since coming off the IL. So he's allowing more contact. So when we get a pitcher like that who's allowing a lot more contact, we just have to stack the offense and hope that we get it right.
Sure. Oakland and Miami.
So this is definitely going to be on the Athletics. They're a tier 2 stack for me just because they have so much power. They've actually hit more home runs on the road than they have at home this year, even though they're playing in a AAA ballpark that is supposed to be better for offense. They've been more dangerous on the road. So, and Belozo is somebody that I don't really think all that highly of. So the Athletics are going to be a tier 2 stack for me. Pretty much everybody in play from them. Shea Langeliers and Rooker are probably my favorite two. On the other side, the Athletics are bringing up Gunnar Hoglund for his major league debut.
Okay.
Min-priced, 25-year-old making his debut. Now that comes with the fact that he had dealt with some injuries for a couple of years. Gunnar was actually a 2-time first-round MLB draft pick. So teams multiple times coming out of high school and then draft eligible in college
So
thought he
JD
was a
Duke.
legitimate first-rounder.
Right.
He just came out with some arm issues right away, and Toronto had to deal with that, and he got traded to the Athletics. Kind of weird numbers. Playing in Las Vegas, so he plays in the PCL. Very offensive-driven minor league park, and he's a fly ball pitcher, but he hasn't been hit with home runs, which is really weird for that atmosphere. I like him. He's been priced, but I don't play pitchers based on price. I think he legitimately offers 20 to 25 upside in this spot. He can go 5 or 6 innings, strike out 5 to 7, get a win. The Miami offense is weak enough. I will go back to Stowers just because he's been hot. It wasn't just a one-game thing. He's had a pretty strong last 7 or 8. So he's somebody that will stand out for me, especially against a fly ball pitcher. Matt Mervis maybe for a home run call from Miami, but he might strike out 2 or 3 times as well. So this one really caught me off guard because it had a total of 9.5 this morning when I did my pick. I don't remember ever seeing a game in Miami at this ballpark with a 9.5 run total. So something kind of stood out there, and I'm just hoping it's the athletic side.
It was funny. It wrinkled my eyebrow today, too, when I was looking on my phone, kind of looking at the games before the slate. I was like, whoa, like that's weird in kind of a dead ball park. But, yeah, now here's a question that often gets answered. Then we'll answer. There's another question from Discord that I put in the comments that'll be in the next game, the Dodgers-Braves game. But when we're looking at a pitcher debuting, this is a question that goes back, since Jesus walked on water or whatever in the DFS world. When a pitcher makes his debut, advantage pitcher or advantage hitters?
Most of the time, I think it's advantage pitcher. There's some instances where I don't jump on the pitcher. Sometimes when you have such a huge prospect who's coming up to make some random debut at 20 years old, I do have some worries about him just being too pumped for that spot. So I may back off a little bit, but there's some guys that just have a ton of upside that you want to go with because we've seen pitchers come up in their debut and just turns out to be like a career high performance in strikeouts, that sort of thing. Journeyman guy, 30-year-old getting called up to make his major league debut, not a guy that I'm going to play. I'm probably going to play bats. He's a journeyman for a reason. He's organizational depth. He's not somebody that's special in any way, and he's probably just coming up to eat innings only. But as we played Coleman against Tampa Bay, Hoglund now tonight, these are guys that are 24, 25, 26. They shouldn't be overwhelmed by the moment for the most part, at least not the same as a 19, 20, or 21-year-old. So I kind of like that they've had their feet under them. They've probably been in a spring camp for 2 or 3 years previously, so they've been around, that group of guys already. And it helps when these guys get called up to face some of the weaker offenses too.
Yeah, I was
right?
gonna say it.
They're not getting sacked. Like, no team is gonna sacrifice one of their top pitching prospects to face the Dodgers or the Yankees in their debut. They're
not a bad
go with
draw.
An organizational depth guy or a bullpen game or whatever.
Not a bad draw to grab Miami out of the gate.
Yeah.
So that said, the next question was thoughts on Yamamoto for DK. Atlanta bats have been kind of rough. Barely scored any runs out in Coors. So is Yamamoto on the radar, for the Dodgers facing those Braves? Is it a spot you're looking to attack? And then, of course, right into that game, just run it off.
Yamamoto is definitely in play for me. Arguably he's a top 4 pitcher for me because there are 4 guys that stand out. 3 stand out a lot more. The 4th guy's Robbie Ray, and we can talk about him when we get to that game. But great spot. Yamamoto, a reverse splits guy. Most of the right-handed bats for Atlanta are weaker at this point. Like Nick Allen, Arcia, Eli White, if he's in the lineup. Plenty of upside, especially as a pivot off of higher owned Tariq Skubal. Makes a ton of sense for me. Mm-hmm. And because Yamamoto is one of those guys that just rarely gets blown up, Atlanta's just not going to be in play for me pretty much at all. The way I run my builds, I will have a couple Atlanta mini stacks, but I'm going to try to dictate which 2 guys that is by adjusting their fantasy point projection.
Give the secret. Who are you targeting? Or are you going to throw that in the Discord for the VIPs?
We could do that.
Or are you going to not do it at all?
It's tough because I don't really think anybody wants to. Like, I'm basically going to get 2% of them. They're not going to pop enough to where I get, 4 or 5, 6% of Atlanta mini stacks. I've already stated how it's a reverse splits guy, so you can assume it's going to be some combination of right-handed bats.
I would not be doing my job if I didn't seek out every opportunity to troll the hell out of you. So that's what we're here for. Anything else on LA, or do you want to drop down to Houston and Chicago and speed up a little bit? So
we're just always playing the Dodgers. Like, this is another night. Dodgers are one of my top 2 stats.
Of course,
tonight's a night where it's LA and the Yankees are my top 2. Like, it falls into the chalky night, unfortunately. Right. Big time teams, but they just make so much sense. So I'm just playing as many Dodgers as I can. If I'm fading any of the Dodgers' expensive guys, it's going to be Mookie Betts. The other guys have been swinging it so well compared to him that
last time.
I'm going to play some Mookie, but if I have to remove somebody who's 5K plus from that team, Mookie's going to be the first one that comes out because Teoscar's been on fire.
Okay. Houston, Chicago. Is this a game you're even thinking about on a slate this size?
It is. I shocked the Discord a little bit earlier.
Nice.
A couple of my core bats play for the Chicago White Sox.
Wow.
It is a gross feeling.
I am looking at that lineups page right now, and I'm seeing nothing but red. So explain yourself, sir.
And I hate it. But 2 guys, and I think they might be hitting back-to-back tonight. I should probably look. Yeah, they are. They're hitting 2nd and 3rd.
Okay.
In that lineup. Luis Robert and Miguel Vargas are somewhat hotter. Vargas definitely is hot, and Luis Robert is stealing a bunch of bases now. Like, he's on a roll. He started out the season absolutely horrendous, and people thought he just had given up. So his overall numbers are bad, right? But Luis Robert has been between 13 and 25 DK points in 5 straight games. He has 6 stolen bases over the last 5 games, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs. Like, he's getting on base. He's playing well. Vargas and Luis Robert are my favorite GPP mini stack on the slate.
You're just making me sick. You really are. That's a bold call, dude.
Vargas has been double-digit points in 4 out of the last 7. I think he has a hit in 8 straight games, at least 1 hit in 8 straight games. So
okay, well let's put you to the test. I'm going to throw up the research station really quickly here. I sorted off to the Chicago White Sox only, and I'm going to scroll over. I want to look at the 7-day and the 14-day trends. This used to be a number I looked at a ton when I got the opportunity, and 7's not registering just yet, but it's probably coming up from. It could be a one-off for you. You're seeing something, obviously, that numbers aren't necessarily transpiring yet in the research station. Doesn't mean your numbers are wrong by any means. I trust your numbers more than a lot of this. This is just, I was hoping I'd see 7 days worth of green and see some stuff in there to really get me excited about that call. But man,
I mean, for Luis Robert, you should see 7 days worth of green.
Well, this is where are we at versus, yeah. It's not. His WRC plus is like 92. His home runs are 0. OPS
like,
is 670.
That's a part that's not accurate, and that's an issue now because he has 2 home runs over the last 5 games.
Thank you. Well, okay, there you go. Well, then I'm going to actually make a note of that. I'm going to make a note of that and get that to our developers because, yeah.
I use trends a lot. I look at the last 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
To get an idea. I use splits a ton, so but yeah, that's it could be a gross call, but
it's a bad mistake.
I mean, Luis Robert has woken up. And Miguel Vargas was once a big time prospect for the Dodgers, and he is starting to swing it a little better. So having them back to back, I can get behind it. If you didn't want to play Miguel Vargas, who's been hotter, I guess, than Luis Robert from a amount of hit standpoint. Chase Meadroth leading off, former Big Ten prospect for Boston, at a weaker second base position. But
targeting for Valdez is,
Valdez is just allowing too many base runners.
Okay.
Walks, some hits. He just hasn't been as sharp, and he's not racking up a ton of strikeouts either.
I really want this to pan out. I really, really want this to pan out because this is not where I thought you were. I didn't have that on my bingo card for the show tonight.
It definitely could blow up in my face, and if it does, then so be it. But
welcome to DFS.
They're not. The White Sox didn't make my 5-man stack group. They're not one of my top 12 teams, but they will be arguably top 4 in terms of heaviest in the 2-man stack side.
Okay. You got anything to say about Houston?
I think they're okay. Cannon's nothing special. Problem is the Houston offense hasn't been anything special either.
Right. Absolutely, I agree.
So, Houston did make my bottom tier, kind of as the last team into it, because they do have Jordan and Altuve yet. And Paredes and Christian Walker might be starting to heat up. Jeremy Pena probably has been their most productive bat recently. He has multiple hits in 3 out of the last 4. So there's a route for them to do it. I just don't trust that they're going to do it enough compared to some of the other teams on the slate.
Okay. Well, let's if we want to get to that DS, let's pick up the pace a little bit here. We got 5 games left. Seattle and Texas. Is that a lot to talk about there, or just kind of gloss it over and give the high points?
For me, it's Woo, because Texas actually averaged the fewest runs per game in all of baseball. Fewer runs than the Rockies and the White Sox. So Brian Woo is in play because that Texas lineup is struggling. On the other side, Seattle is in play as a near top tier stack because I believe they are number 2 in all of baseball in OPS on the road, which is where they are at this evening. So just a ton of power. Jack Leiter was rough last year in his debut season. Started out this season strong, went on the IL, returned, and struggled a bit in his return. And that overall Texas bullpen isn't overly strong. So Leiter getting pulled in 4 innings gives that Seattle offense 5 innings of not so great bullpen.
And who's next? Chicago and Milwaukee. This one sounds to me like this one could go a couple of different directions. I think it had a higher total, and Chicago's got some power to that offense, and Milwaukee's scoring runs. So,
yeah, this did open with a total of 9. I'm not sure what it moved to. I haven't updated my numbers. Milwaukee decided to go with an opener now with Tyler Alexander before Quinn Priester. Probably, trying to take advantage of the fact that they, Kyle Tucker, Michael Busch potentially in the first, want them facing a lefty. But on the Chicago Cubs side, pretty solidly. Not on the Milwaukee side. I know we talked about it on one of the shows about how speed slumps less than power. The issue is the Brewers aren't getting on base enough to trust their speed right now. So they just went through a really rough series against the White Sox of all teams. Now they could turn it on in this series because, the divisional matchup, there's a lot to it. But I'm off of Milwaukee. Doesn't mean I'm on Ben Brown all that much. He did make my initial jot down list, but he's not going to be in my player pool. He does have a K prop of 5.5, which was solid. But ultimately he ended up being removed from my pool just because Milwaukee could surprise, but I'm not 5-man stacking the Brewers right now with the way that they're swinging it.
Mets and Cardinals. Are you on the Mets like I would be? I'm a Cardinals guy, as we know. Go Blues. But, their bullpen has been so ick that if they can get Sonny on a short start, I'm expecting some fireworks out of the Mets potentially.
I am not on either offense in this one.
Okay.
Sonny Gray last year, absolutely dominant when pitching at home.
Mm-hmm.
His overall numbers this year have shown stronger to be at home as well. Clay Holmes, on the other side, has done a great job of limiting hard contact. Strikeouts are kind of an issue for him, and St. Louis doesn't really strike out as much as you'd think.
Right. I was supposed to say
With that said, I just don't really like the upside. Game total of 7.5 in this one.
Mm-hmm.
It's not overly exciting. If you told me I had to pick an offense, it would be the Mets in this one, even though Sonny Gray to me is a better starting pitcher than Clay Holmes. I just have a hard time trusting the St. Louis bats. And Holmes, if I remember correctly, now I didn't look this up, but I feel like he controls a running game more than you would think, being that he's a former relief pitcher. And I generally only play the Cardinals when I think they can steal some bases with Nootbaar, Donovan, Victor Scott, those guys.
Yeah. It makes sense. They don't run as much as I'd like to see them run as a fan. So, and I haven't looked at their numbers to see if their attempts are up or any of that. But I really just look. Anytime I see Cardinals right now, I'm looking at if they can get to the wrong side of that bullpen, the game can explode. Will it tonight? I don't know. There's only about 5,000 other choices to choose from too. So I totally get it. Anywhere to go? LA and Detroit.
Personally,
I'd skip it. Outside of
the
pitching offenses.
Yeah, you're playing Tariq Skubal for sure. He's my core pitcher. I'll give that away now. I'm playing Detroit because they've done enough, and Soriano hasn't looked very strong the last couple starts. Detroit exploded late. The overall Angels bullpen is pretty weak. Soriano's just allowing a ton of base runners. What is it, 30 of them in his last 14 innings. Anytime we get a guy that's allowing that many base runners, we have to stack the offense. It may not work from a run standpoint, but just from a pure opportunity standpoint, we have to go with it. Now, he is an extreme ground ball guy, so maybe it's not the home runs. But that's all right. Like Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter will hit a home runs off a ground ball pitcher. Riley Green's been swinging it well. Javi Baez, surprisingly, is rolling right now. The only issue is Gleyber Torres is not in the lineup because he injured something last night, so it's Colt Keith instead. But Yeah, Detroit's in my bottom tier, but I think there's a lot of upside in that stack if Soriano keeps allowing so many base runners.
Talk about another old dude, Javi Baez. I mean, goodness,
And
he's sitting up there with
sitting 320-ish.
It's fine. I mean, and love it, but I mean, shit, dude's been around, since we didn't have dirt in the infield. Where's Scooble over Ray? I mean, obviously, is your core play. How do you feel about Ray? I guess we'll get to him.
So yeah,
he's actually in the next game if we want to get past Detroit and LA and talk about the Rockies and Giants.
Yeah, we can do that.
There's your Robbie Ray call.
Robbie Ray, obviously in my pool. One of the top 4 pitchers on the slate. The problem is he is so volatile. And the fact that he's projecting at over 40% ownership right now scares the living hell out of me.
It's targeting Colorado in a pitcher's park, though, yeah?
It is. I mean, it is a pitcher's park. The problem is like when Ray struggles, it's because he's allowing a ton of walks. He's racking up pitch count. He throws 90 pitches in the first 4 innings. And he's not going to get there for us when we have freed Scooble Yamamoto if he's throwing 90 pitches in 4 innings. There are a few right-handed bats on Colorado that have been swinging it well in Goodman, Beck, and Brenton Doyle that I think there's a chance where a mini, similar to my White Sox, a mini Colorado stack may be the nut play tonight. I am going to go underweight on Robbie Ray.
Did you just call a potential mini Colorado and Chicago White Sox stacks in the same night?
I did.
I mean,
it is one of those nights.
I seriously, I thought it was the beer. I mean,
but I think that's something that's probably going to help me, considering my top 2 stacks are the Dodgers and Yankees. So super chalky top 2 stacks. Mixing them in with minis of the White Sox and Colorado, low own plays. I think I just like the possibility. Obviously, just the Ray chalk. I talk about it in my videos all the time. I love taking pitching in this ballpark. Like, absolutely love it. So I take some of the weakest pitchers out there because they're pitching in this park.
You just basically just dropped your right nut and your left nut on the table tonight with those 2 calls on such a huge slate too. Like, oh my God, man. I'm going to be rooting for you tonight, man. Like, I mean, seriously, if this shit pans out, this is like, seriously, you blew my head exploded there. I don't know if everybody else is. I mean, if you guys' minds exploded, I mean, give Razzle some damn love in the comments, for Christ's sake. That's serious shit.
Robbie Ray's coming off of his best start of the season. It was at home. It was against that weak Texas squad that we talked about. But, prior to that, like, the 2 starts was 5 innings, 92 pitches with 3 walks. 4 innings, 93 pitches, 5 walks. 4 innings, 98 pitches, 4 walks. Like, these are starts for Robbie Ray. A great start against Seattle at home, right? Like 1 run allowed in 6 innings.
Here's what we're gonna do. I see where you're coming from. I just did not see that coming tonight. I love it. Like I said, here's what I need you to do. I need you to set this optimizer up for me right now in front of everybody with a mini stack of Chicago or a mini stack of Colorado, and let's pump a lineup or 2 out and see what it looks like. Just for shits and giggles, and then we can ride off into the sunset and call this a day. Holy cow.
Like,
just guide me, man. Show me what to do. Do it. I mean, we'll make 5 lineups.
So have it do 10 lineups, because we can get it to spit out 5 and 5.
Okay.
In the way my mind's thinking. I use 3 uniques.
Tournament mode.
Tournament mode, 3 uniques, server instead of browser. I can't see.
I got you.
My smaller monitor here.
Yeah, it's fine. I hope everybody else can see it. If you guys can see it, thumb up or say yes or something like that, so you guys can see this thing happen, because I don't have the power power to fire you, but after a bold call like that tonight, I'm like tempted to be like Kevin. This one's gonna really hope it works. If it works, you go from 0 to hero. Like you're not a 0. I mean, you just go straight to GOAT status. All right, guide me. Sorry, I'm sidetracked. My mind is just still blown.
I mean, you throw like 15 to 20% randomization on both spots. Since we're not editing a pitcher pool, like you can probably go with a little higher number at pitching, but
I just threw a blanket 15 on there. You guys can get more aggressive if you want in the members. You guys can all do 20% or 25 even if you want, whatever.
Okay. Then obviously 100% 5-2 stack.
Yep.
Because that's definitely what I'm doing tonight is 100%.
Right. You guys, hopefully you see that.
So as I was talking about my stacks, you might as well go the stack one side 50% LA Dodgers and 50% New York Yankees.
All right, let me find. So 50 LA, 50 New York Yankees.
Yep.
And where they are down here. Yankers, listen to me. Okay, so I've got 50-50 LA and the Yankees, and on the right side, I just put 100%, 0 to 100 Chicago, Detroit. And you want me to change that? Because, I mean, I want to see Chicago and Detroit, so I'm going to check everybody else.
So you can uncheck and do Chicago, Detroit, and do 50% of each team and see how it works out.
I'm actually going to, let's see if I can get a little bit of wiggle room there so that it forces a little bit in there. Okay, let's hope that I don't have to do the whole change 2 thing, which I don't anymore. That's good. I've noticed that sometimes some sports it does it, some sports it doesn't. Boy, you got it. It's thinking, man. The DS is thinking. I can't believe it's taking this long to get 3 or 4 lineups.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to think harder because, like, I manipulate the projections more.
Its mind is blown too. That's why. I mean, the DS right now is going. What are you doing to me, Razzle? I don't want to do this.
No.
I mean, you've got the optimizer going, dude. You DFS Army people are weird. All right, so you got 100% or 60% Robbie Ray. You got some Mookie in there, but for all intents and purposes, is it 5-stack Yankees, a one-off Willie Adames to Detroit? Where's Colt Keith batting projected? Because you got Torkelson in the 5. You got Young in the 6.
Lower in the lineup.
Yeah, it's gonna be connected, or it's gonna be disconnected. The stack, it looks like there's a 3-6 Sox stack with Vargas and Sosa. I know you'd want to adjust Luis Robert or something like that, but it's around 5 Dodgers. Ray and Wu. Ray and Wu seem like a good combo. Scooble and Ray. Scooble, Ray, 5 Yankees, 2 Detroit Tigers, and Alex Verdugo leading off for the Braves potentially. I mean, that is not a terrible line.
Well, yeah, the reason we're getting so much Ray is because we put it on Detroit. 50% Colorado, 50% the White Sox. Not on Detroit as the secondary stack.
Oh man, look at this shit though. This is crazy. I mean, I hope you guys are seeing this. I'm looking at the screen like y'all are. So I don't see any comments or anything, but man, I'm hoping those comments are just on fire right now because.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to rerun it though because you did Detroit as a mini stack. It's supposed to be Colorado over Detroit.
Oh, that's my dumb.
That's why they're getting so much rate.
Yeah. I'm glad you stopped me. That was a Mormon thing. I'm just the monkey spinning the wheel, man.
I'm trying to figure out why you don't use dark mode on that.
My cache clears so often on this damn computer that I do. It just means I haven't played with it yet today because otherwise I'd be on dark mode for sure. The first thing when I cache clears, first thing I have to do is go put dark mode back on Twitter and back on DS. Everything. It's just like
all of that stuff. Yeah,
it sucks.
DraftKings, FanDuel.
Porn sites. I mean, I got to go everything.
Well,
you got to cover your tracks, man. All right, so there's. I mean, I'm still just going to scroll through these for everybody. There's Ray and Wu again. There's Yamamoto, Valdez. Might not like the pitching combination. But see, now here's the thing. If you guys get a lineup like this, let's say that you see Yamamoto and the Dodgers and you're fine with that. You got 5 Yankees, you got 2 Rockies, and it's a 1-3. It's Doyle and Goodman. You're like, okay, I can see where this is going. This looks pretty good. Now, you don't like Valdez for whatever reason. Well, now you got 8,800 to play with. You hit those little 2 green arrows over to the side. Boom, you swap him out. And you throw somebody else in there that you like. And it might come up with somebody that Razzle has mentioned or something like that you can really kind of get in there with. And that's how you would finish it off by hand. Like you can use the DS to give you ideas and build 10 lineups, and you're going to pick 1 or 2 for single entry or 3 for 3 max or whatever. And you're finishing it off by hand. You're building with the domination station, giving you the combinations and using some of the projections, a little bit of randomization to kind of throw the stuff together so that it works. And then you're finishing off by hand when you see 1 or 2 pieces where you're like, oh, I really like this better. Make it happen, man. Take control. It's your money, it's your bankroll, it's your GPP, and it's your brain that goes into this thing. So have some confidence in yourself, man. Like Razzle just did with the White Sox and the Colorado Rockies, man. Sack up, drop both balls on the table, and take control of this machine and finish it off. That's how you win. You go big or you go home. Yeah, these are some interesting lineups, man. And these are going to be, on a night like tonight especially, these are going to be unique. Cool. I like it. I'm going to make a quick check through these comments here really quick, and I think we've about got it. Let's see. Yeah, it's definitely Gussie. Marquise got you. Tattoo Freak said he's going to throw his parlay in here. It's Teoscar Hernandez, Aaron Judge, and Nate Lowe. Plus 5,600 for a home run prop, 3-legger. I like it. Bold call. We can end on that. Razzle, dude, thanks as always. Really appreciate it. You guys, thanks as always for tuning in. We got up to 70 viewers. I'll take it. I still want to double that next week. Let's get up to 100 and 150. Let's grow this thing, put his helmets on the leaderboard, show everybody bold calls like this are why you're here. This is why you're playing daily fantasy sports. And if you want to play in those large field GPPs, this is how you win them. You know, you drop your balls on the table, and most nights it doesn't work, of course. It's not supposed to, but when it does, you're binkity-binking 50K like I've seen Razzle do. You guys, it's out there for you. You can definitely do it. And that's why using the banner here at the bottom and joining us here at dfsarmy.com, using that coupon code MLB Live for that 10% off discount. You got a few minutes left while the show's going. Hopefully we're reading that banner. Jump in here, start spinning the hamster wheel on the tool itself, learn how to manipulate it most importantly, and fire it up. Thanks, buddy. We'll talk to everybody again on Monday, yeah?
Yeah.
I really want to watch these calls tonight. I'm going to be watching these calls tonight.
We'll see how it works out.
Take care. We'll see everybody later, right? Peace out.
Peace.
And Matthew says goodbye. He said you got it, Chip. All right.